I flew in a lot of those missions where we were taking injured service members. Some of them are critically injured.
Yeah, we were in a convoy and weapons were drawn on us. So if you want to call that a front line, then we'll say yes.
Treat everybody like you want to be treated. That's my motto.
The United States Congress created the Veteran History Project back in 2000 as part of the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress. They enlisted the help of Prince George's Community College Mass Communication Department, and we made it our goal to collect and preserve the personal accounts of American wartime veterans so that generations now and later can hear these accounts directly from the veterans themselves. And we did this raw and completely unedited. And while doing this, we gained hands-on experience in production and interviewing skills.
My name is Justin Walker. I was involved in the Veterans Project as first. I was supposed to serve as a lead trainer for some of the students that were going to be involved in the overall project, but eventually got kind of drafted in to become one of the interviewers of one of the people who were involved in or who we interviewed for the project.
When it came to the Veterans History Project, I was involved in directing and tech directing the actual interviews. It was a pretty good experience. The experiences I gained from the project were timing as far as the technical side of it goes. Timing, I gained organization skills, how to communicate better with my crew, which were my classmates and peers. I didn't exactly know how intense it was going to be, but it was very real live, so to speak.
In Afghanistan, combat, no. Suicide bombers, yes. So if we can define combat, it's not as it was, as I said, in Vietnam and World War II. So a cook who is on a cook who is not trained, as we say, for combat, but he is a soldier, she is a soldier. If they're on a convoy and something happens, then that becomes that service member's front line. They are ready to take on whatever it is that comes to them. Yeah, we were in a convoy and weapons were drawn on us. So if you want to call that a front line, then we'll say yes. But were we shot at? The answer is no. Did we fire our weapons back? The answer is no. So it's no longer that front line as we knew years ago. So every soldier is ready to do what he's supposed to do because he's a soldier first, regardless of his military occupational skill.
And if sometimes you see people who really haven't gotten their life together, so that would be a good advice to say, look, you need to go in the Army, get yourself together, because the Army teach you, like I said, the Army teach you character.
Right, it'll toughen you up.
And it helps you build yourself as a lady or gentleman, you know, so all that help.
Well, excuse me. Well, actually, after hearing the veteran stories, I wouldn't say I gained a respect for them after that. I've always had a respect for those who serve in the military. I couldn't do it. So anyone that definitely could, anyone that goes out and puts their life on the line for the country or for our country, I have the utmost respect for.
The detail at which the veterans described their experiences were really intense. You can tell that they actually had a lot of emotion with what they were saying. They had so many experiences, from injuries, from even emotional heartbreak, you know, like one minute you see someone, the next minute they're gone, you know. And it's really heart touching.
That one I would tell you would be very difficult. And it's been, coming up on 13 years now. But it seems like it was just yesterday. And the friends that were lost, it could have been me, because I was on the E-ring right where the plane came in. My co-worker whose desk, she was sitting there. She was lost, and a gentleman sitting in my chair at my desk was lost. But I mean, just very hard to talk about. Plane came in, I was in a room, and the building started to crumble, and you know, not to minimize it all, it was terrible. That was probably one of the worst days in the Army that I had. And we crawled from the inner room to a window and jumped out of the window, and some did not make it with us. And so many injuries I sustained from that, but you know, I just look back at it, it was not my time. It was a blessing for me to go on and do other things for the Army and for this great nation, and to have been over there where the destruction started in Afghanistan.
And it's really heart touching, you know, the lessons you learn and the things they probably went through, you know.
I had this small detail, like 4 or 5 guys. One of them on Private PFC. And we had to clean. I told this my little detail, I said, look, let's go up there, clean that breech block. I'm gonna swing by the mess hall, see if I can get us some sandwiches, and I'll meet y'all in the motor pool, and we'll go there. Of the 5, 4 of them said, okay, Sergeant Dixon. He jumped up there. The other fella, he didn't move. I said, you get up there. And to this day, here's what he said to my face. Where I come from, we don't do nothing a nigger tell us what to do. He said that to my face. They expect for me to have hit him, but my parents didn't raise no fool. I took it, and I told him, you're not doing what this tell you what to do, and you're doing what this tell you. He just repeated it again. And in the meantime, this was around all of the other sergeants, all white. No one stepped forward to be on my side. To go to him and say, do you know what you have done? Do you know you're telling a sergeant you know you called them out? Nobody. It was, you could hear a pin roll on that asphalt. And I had to stand there. Now, if I'd have hit him, they would have charged me with hitting a enlisted man. I'd end up in the stockade. So after he refused, after I gave him the second direct order, I let it go. I went on down to the company commander's office, told the first sergeant. First sergeant took me in, told the company commander. They sent for him, they brought him down there. And he said, I understand that Sergeant Dixon gave you an order and you refused. He repeated it again, the same words, to the company commander. But that didn't last long, because the first sergeant had already taken out the Articles of War. They charged him disrespect to a non-commissioned officer. He was sentenced to 6 months hard labor at Frankfurt Prison, forfeit with all pay and allowances. It just proved one thing. The pen at that time was mightier than the sword. But to this day, I can see that man standing in front of me, calling me out my name. That was the hardest thing that I encountered.
I guess I don't really have much to say about the veterans' uniforms. I mean, you know, it's kind of, if you've seen one uniform, you've seen them all. I guess one of the most influential things is being able to see, I guess, the medals that they have, being able to see what they've accomplished, being able to find out exactly what those medals mean is probably one of the things. So I guess it's not necessarily the uniform. I guess it's more so about what's on the uniform that I found more interesting. And so being able to kind of track a person's career through the medals that they have, through some of the pins that they've had. I think we even had a guy that even won the Medal of Honor at one point. So, you know, that would be more interesting to me than necessarily the uniform.
Well, today I brought in a few mementos that are really kind of culmination of my career in the military. This was my last award, my Defense Meritorious Service Medal, which is one of the higher medals you get. I brought the certificate and also the award. I have my medals I received while serving. Those are things that are dear to my heart. Also brought in my retirement certificate because that really, that's the culmination. That's the final thing, is getting that certificate to say that you probably served for over 20 years, because I did serve for 24 years in the Navy. So that's that. The award is my last award I received, my last award I received from the Joint Staff, which I was the Action Officer of the Month, which is a huge honor on the Joint Staff. The coins are coins from each of my assignments. That's a part of the military tradition, is to receive a coin from places where you were stationed. Some of them are from Beckley, West Virginia, the Joint Staff, the Secretary of Defense. Different people gave me awards for doing that. Okay. So it's such a good, my memorabilia, I have a lot of it, but these are things that are special to me. Okay.
I guess being told, I guess listening to it after the fact is a lot different than being there, and as they're recalling these memories, you know, you're there with them in that time frame. So I guess it's different to be there, to listen to it filmed, than to have it edited and pushed out, and then you listen to it as, you know, the interview.
That's always, being in studio is always an impressive thing to me. First, because I love being in the studio. You know, I like being in front of the camera, but I love being behind the camera a lot more. And just in my role as a peer support leader, to be able to see people who've never touched a camera before, who never thought they could come in and run a control board, who never thought that they could learn our massive audio board, it's just really rewarding to me. I love to train, I love to teach, I love seeing people learn new things. So anytime I can get in here and see students taking advantage of what they have here on campus to use and have it at their disposal and learn, I'm always happy when that happens.
Overall from the project was that the veterans really are to be respected and appreciated. You don't really know what veterans and war heroes and just servicemen go through because we're not there. So we can't even comprehend it really until we hear stories. And it's not just like we heard one story as in folklore. It was more like we heard story after story after story. All the interviews that we did really impacted us. It had everyone in the crew very intent and intense on listening. So it was just like more of a humbling experience just to hear these things. And I mean, there were also great things too, because I learned about how you can move up through the ranks. You can gain status and stature, how you build camaraderie, and we learned about you know, the guys, how they had to fight and the different like weapons of choice and the different branches and just how the instructors are when you're going through training. There was a lot. There was an abundance to be soaked in. So yeah, I learned a lot from the veterans.